Nigeria government, until you people remove those bandits, those Boko Haram that you recruited into Nigeria army, nobody will come and join. So Benue State people are the one joining the army people before. Now, they are not ready to join again. Igbo man cannot leave his business to come and save this country for you.
Is that the President and Commander-in-Chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has expanded the Nigerian army from 8 divisions to 12 and has therefore approved the recruitment of 28,000 additional personnel. Now, with the development, 4 new divisions are to be created, namely Makurdi 6th Division, Ilorin 9th Division, Jalingo 10th Division, and Benin City 83rd Division.
Hausas I don't declare. I'm gonna tell you now, Hausas plenty, Fulani is no plenty, but they go school. So they feel say they wise, they feel say Hausas mumu.
It don't happen. Igbo man tell una say make we share things. Make una stop to the attack us. Una no one here. Now everywhere done cast. Yeah? This country, everywhere done cast. Finally. The Benue people will be the backbone of the military. We follow, it doesn't, now them fight that Biafran Nigerian civil war against the Biafrans. Now they don't talk, say, they are saying, they are coming up now to say that they are not joining the military again. Now, following what the Igbos did. You see, gradually, everything will clear for everybody. Igbo man don't get time for propaganda. Let's do things right. Una say no. Now, everywhere done cast. Breeze don't blow. Foul nyash. Open. Very open like this. They see them. You see? Well, make we hear from the Benue guy.
Nigeria government, until you people remove those bandits, those Boko Haram that you recruited into Nigeria army, nobody will come and join. So Benue State people are the one joining the army people before. Now, they are not ready to join again. Igbo man cannot leave his business to come and save this country for you, to come and protect this country for you. Neither Hausa man don't have strength self. Just that some of their uneducated one will just go and join. Likewise Yoruba. But until the system change, nobody will come and join Nigeria army for you. Nobody, no Nigerian citizen want to go and risk his life for you. So you want to employ people in the Nigerian army so that you can carry them as your escort, as your convoy. It will not work this time around.
Yes, una don't see him. It don't dey clear for everybody. I say say road no dey that place. They say follow who no road. Follow who no road. Oga, follow who no road. Abobi follow who no road. You get why. You get why where people don't they see say na Southeast Road Day. They don't they key in. Now they don't they join, say they know they do army again, they know they do military again. Say the kind things where they happen there, clear for them eye. Now the game where they now. It never end like that though. The new thing now be say na Igbo man, they won't make Igbo man enter there. Go scatter all those things. The people where they don't join. Keep. They say make Igbo man enter there, go scatter up. Now waiting they talk. And let me tell you, Igbos no day like that. Igbos want, Igbos want is live and let live. That has been the strategy of an Igbo man. Hustle for your life, live. Make I hustle for my own life, live my life. But now the katakata don't go too far that Igbos now, they don't care, they won't go. Since when Nigeria, they fight Igbos for their success, nothing again, nothing Igbo do. Now just say Igbo man, they hustle, they progress. Some people think say na wuru they do, they enter government. Don't be wuru na through hard work. Now, these Benue guys now, they won't make Igbos go enter. Make you hear them yourself, or don't be saying me talk am. Hear them.
If they open mouth and tell you that Tinubu is the one ruling there now, you believe. You believe. Until an Igbo man enter that seat and change the pattern, Fulani person will still be ruling there. Either by being on the seat there, practical, or by sending somebody to be there as an image. My brother, let's learn lesson.
So now, do you believe that silent revolution is going on in Nigeria today? Silent, in fact, it's a little bit above silent. It's no longer silent again. It's a kind of moving towards outbreak of revolution. Now, the Benue side, of course, is not them that caused this thing. It is the atrocities being committed that is bringing these things out. The guy said that it is not Tinubu that is ruling, that the people ruling there are the Fulanis. That is not Tinubu that is in charge. And actually, you know, the Fulanis, the Hausas are complaining about them. Honestly speaking, it's all this complaint about Hausa Fulani. It is real. They are very serious about it. But the only thing is that anytime person wake up, you don't become a morning. It was very, very late, if you ask me. The waking up was very, very... Doing that Igbo own, Igbo say, no, they no agree. Piam, before they carry war, enter Southeast. But Hausa own, they don't enter, clear everything, change the foundation, everything, don't scatter. But still, the Hausas are very, very serious about it. And, you know, some people are still talking about it. Let's hear this young man. He's trying to dissect the Hausa situation that he has been in the north, and he knows the truth about that. Let's go.
Hausas I don't declare. I'ma tell you now, Hausas plenty, Fulani is no plenty, but they go school. So they feel say they wise, they feel say Hausas mumu. You understand? Fulani man pikin no go ever do a ramajuri, buy something, give her, I no go take. I swear to God, I don't stay for naught. Wait till I don't know. So all these Fulanis, they go school, now they be those governors, now they be those emirs, now they be those Islamic scholars. So they feel say Hausas mumu, they go package mass wedding, marry plenty, can't give Hausas. Hausas go come born, they go come they use that number, they win election. Now, it don't they backfire. You understand? They go they use that Hausa Fulani, they deceive Hausas. Now it don't they backfire, Hausas don't they wake up. Now Hausas plenty, they go take back their land. Shegumi will tell you say more than a question about him. He said in Pikin go graduate for Defense Academy. So these Fulanis, they feel say they're wise. They feel say they're wise. See, their cup don't full already. And normal, real Hausa person, no fit by person, I swear to God. Now Fulanis, they do that rubbish.
You see what in that guy talk, I've stayed in the north, small, not so long, but I've been in the north, stay for years. Stay for years. As if you join my stay in the north is years, different locations. So I have some first-hand information of what this guy is saying. You see that it is true. If you are not a Fulani man, you cannot be an emir in all these places. You know, you can count if any Hausa man that has been a governor. And I tell you people before that, this guy also repeated it, that the Hausa man, the real Hausa people, they are very good people. They don't have problems. They don't have issues. That Nigerians are missing the real Hausa people, are not these black-minded people that are, you know, circulating everywhere. Well, having said that, we are going to go into the current situation that is happening in Nigeria today. Every day, one issue or the other. In fact, whether a problem will come, they talk about in Nigeria today. In fact, these days is something else. If you hear any good news in Nigeria today, go check them well. If they check them well, small time you go here say no be na another thing happen or no be saying na Trump write a letter. Now somebody go do this. Now this kind thing. That's all. In fact, I don't know what test is still holding Nigeria. I don't know. But let's watch this, view this discussion.
The bitterness or bad blood between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and his former boss, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, is not about to go away soon. That's the picture we're getting. The former number 2 man has accused former number 1 man, Obasanjo, of fabricating allegations against him to favor his kinsman, that in quotes, ahead of the 2027 elections. Although this kinsman is not named, speculation is pointing at the incumbent President Bola Tinubu, who is Yoruba, like former #1 man Obasanjo, who is a known supporter of Peter Obi, and Igbo, and the presidential candidate of the NDC. Makes you wonder if in politics, people are linked together more by enmity than by love, Dotun.
I wish I didn't have to double into this.
Is it too late to withdraw?
Very late. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
In the last few months, what we have had ahead of the official kickoff of campaign, there have not been issues being addressed, but jibes being thrown.
Oh, yeah.
And that is not what Nigeria needs now. What we need, because this is where we end up complaining after somebody must have won. I'm sure you must have heard us ask, and it been said in the media, that the 3 leading presidential candidates, their manifesto or their campaign points ahead of the 2023 elections were not different. Implementation would differ.
Yeah.
But most Nigerians didn't know that. Because while the spokespersons, the candidates themselves were throwing jabs, they were not addressing the issues.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the problem is. I can't say, yes, Peter Obi has given us, I think, part 1 and part 2 of his plans for the next election. That's what I'm waiting, the details of what will be achieved for Nigerians to be able to make up their minds. Bringing ethnicity, bringing past
religion and all that
and into it doesn't intrigue me
in any way.
In any way. What I want is not us throwing jibes. Can we address the issues? There is a man who is in power now. His policies, we know them now. And he's saying that I'm going to do more of what I'm doing now to take Nigeria to its rightful place.
Yeah.
What are you going to do differently as people want to run against him that will change my mind or those of others from saying, okay, continue, or I want this one, I prefer this? Those are the issues I'm interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
If you tell me that a former president is eating you because he wants to support the incumbent, he has a right. It is his right. I have a right to come here and say, I'm voting for Peter Obi. It is my own right.
Yeah.
You can't come and say, I'm voting for Peter Obi because maybe I married or I have a girlfriend from Igbo land. That's not, for me, any issue at all. Obasanjo is a Nigerian with only 1 vote. Though he can influence so many people, but he's a Nigerian with only 1 vote. It is now left for you to go and convince those people you think you can influence that this is not the way to go.
Dr. A bit of history. You recall also that when former President Goodluck Jonathan visited the late Awujale, the Awujale told him, Your Excellency, Mr. President, I have only 1 vote. My business is to tell my subjects to
vote your conscience.
To go out and exercise their franchise, you know.
Go and vote your conscience, because that is what matters most. But for me, we also now need to look at the documents you are bringing. What are you going to do?
What are
and
you
now will
bringing to the
lead
table?
be different from what we are having now.
Okay, quickly. Wale, he talked about religion, and you know, it came into play here.
Yeah.
They are taking us back, Muslim. But it had been there, we have been there before. A bit of history will not hurt anybody here. Retired General Gowon, a Christian, had a Joseph Edet Akinwale way, a Christian, as in his number 2 man. It didn't matter. Immediately after him, General Ironsi, a Christian, had a Babafemi Ogundikbe, a Christian, as the head.
Yeah. And
fast forward to Second Republic, in Lagos here, for instance, Alhaji Jakande was a Muslim. Alhaji Jafojo was his number 2 man. Did it matter?
It shouldn't matter. People just invoke religion to settle political scores. If I might, if somebody wants to contest election, maybe you are a traditional worshipper, you can pick somebody who is a member of Guru Maharaj. It is left for the electorate to decide that, oh, we don't want you. So you can't be in APC and be telling somebody in NDC that don't pay, you are picking the wrong Muslim or whatever.
Yeah.
No, allow them to pick their own candidate, and if you think that it is not right, go and mobilize people to vote. But if at the end of the day, 2023, we all voted for Muslim candidate, ticket. It is the choice of Nigerians.
Yeah.
But don't forget that you may be looking at the bad aspect. There is also a good aspect. It means that in future, there's a precedent for us to have a Christian ticket. So I think all boils down. Democracy is about the people. Yeah. So it's the choice. It's not an individual choice. So if you pick Christian, Muslim, or Muslim Christian, let the people decide. Yeah. So if the people say, okay, this is what they want, that's the beauty of democracy.
So be it, yeah.
That's the beauty of democracy. So I just think that the former president and then the former vice president, one is 89, the other one is 79. And I think that a bitter rivalry that has been going on for over 20 years, it shows clearly that there is no spirit of forgiveness. And one is a Christian, one is a Muslim. And I ask myself, what does the Quran preach about forgiveness? And what does the Holy Bible preach about if you are true Christians and true Muslims? So I think that the two elderly men, they are so acrimonious. They are so bitter against each other to the extent of, to the level of even pettiness. Yeah. That every little thing, you flare up and then issue statements and all that. And even when there are critical issues, I can't recall the statement taking active position when people were kidnapped, either in Oyo or in Borno, taking active position, holding meetings, calling for the releases. It's only when it comes to their personal interest. Yeah. Oh, you attack me, this, then you issue a statement, you start calling press conferences. So you start ask yourself, what kind of leaders, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. MJ, you are giving us not just the last word, your perspective here. You remember that former President Obasanjo, in one of his books, pummeled the former number 2 man. That, I think, is where the former number 2 should have gone to court. But politics is there again. And we're hearing this.
Obasanjo is in a catch-22 situation. He didn't like Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Does not like Atiku. That's why I'm surprised that Atiku would think and Obasanjo would want to discredit him, Atiku, to favor Tinubu. He said, no. Obasanjo is still bitter that Tinubu is president, but they can't do nothing about it. He would rather prefer Peter Obi to work with. So he would want to decimate the powers of Atiku as much as he like, or the chances of Atiku to promote Obi. Obasanjo does not want anybody that will be bigger than him in Yoruba land. So he won't support Tinubu any day. But then I'm surprised that he has not been writing letters to President Tinubu like he used to write to every other person. So it's only himself that he has not.
You think say ink don't finish for him pen?
No, maybe he's still gathering the sentences and paragraphs. But on a serious note, You see, these two elderly men should find a way of resolving their grievances. I mean, the mistrust between them between 1999 and 2007, I mean, to the extent that Obasanjo, who begged Atiku to step down for him in 2003, and that was the greatest mistake Atiku made. Atiku should have gone for the jugular in 2003. He would have defeated Obasanjo. Obasanjo begged him because he had the governors in control. But the same way Obasanjo deceived the AD governors, so I mean, except Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was the last man standing in 2003. I mean, he was able to cajole Atiku, and since then, I mean, he has never forgiven Atiku for having the effrontery to challenge him to the presidency, and that's why he vowed never to hand over to him. He went to pick Yar'Adua instead of Atiku. So I mean, it's a story that we can't finish today.
In one breath, yeah. Thank you.
Two of them to go and calm down.
MJ, so this is coming. It is said when two elephants fight, say now the grass they suffer be. When the two elephants also engage in a love tango, it is the same grass.
That's so.
We have got to that stage. Okay, folks, we are back, so we can get back to our stories. You know, the Nigerian Army, we are to tell you, is the largest land combat branch of the Nigerian Armed Forces, responsible for protecting the country's borders, defending its territorial integrity, and maintaining internal security. Well, we can tell you this. The cheering news is that the President and Commander-in-Chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has expanded the Nigerian Army from 8 divisions to 12, and has therefore approved the recruitment of 28,000 additional personnel. Now, with the development, 4 new divisions are to be created, namely Makurdi 6th Division, Ilorin 9th Division, Jalingo 10th Division, and Benin City 83rd Division. Well, it can only get better.
Well, the truth of the matter is that a lot of people may not understand what this means
that's where to start.
Yes, to Nigerian political economy. You see, one of the reasons why we've had so much instability in Nigeria is because we run an over-centralized state. Over-centralized states all over the world have collapsed. You know, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Russia.
The big USSR.
The big USSR, you know, that broke into 12 states. And one of the weapons of cohesion is the military. Controls the economy, controls politics. Even when you look at our politics since 1960, most of the presidents, even elected presidents we have had, have always been controlled by a few military people. Even in 1999, when they handed over, it was military to civilian, but they chose the civilian that they wanted. So Nigeria has been a captive country since 1960. And one of the reasons why they have this stronghold on us is the ability to manipulate the military, which is the most important organ of, you know, security when you're talking about external aggression and even internal stability. In most countries where they don't want military coups, they don't want military interference, like in India, they have multiple regional commands to the extent that a central command cannot just give order that will destabilize the democratic structure and then they will allow it to happen. In fact, in South Africa, they don't even actually have commands, you know, military command like we have. They have smaller military units to the extent that one central command cannot just give a cohesive order. The same thing in Cuba. And that's why you find out that most of these countries have had a stable government. Like India, there's never been a military coup, you know, in India for a very long time. India has 40 commands, military commands, and then Indonesia has about 21. Nigeria has been keeping about, I think, 8 for a very long time. Most of them with the central command located in a particular place. In fact, most of the military institutions are built around Kaduna, which means that, you know, an hegemony is a control of those institutions. So in order to make sure that the military responds and, is responsive to democratic institutions, there is a need to decentralize it, given the multi-ethnic nature of Nigeria and given the history of Nigeria, given the population of Nigeria itself. And that is why I think that having a decentralized army is going to create a situation for speedy response to local crisis. It's also going to create more opportunity for tactical maneuvers without necessarily waiting for, other, a central command.
Because
you can take decisions.
It would promote the that independence.
Yeah, it also promote innovation. Actually, what is happening here should have happened since 1999. But Obasanjo did not do it because I know there are some masters that were breathing down his neck. So I commend the president for having the political will to take this drastic and radical decision in decentralizing the Nigerian army. It will make it very difficult for anybody now to use the military to bully Nigerians because they have decentralized command. And I also think this is not just the end. We should go ahead to create more multiple institutions like the NDA. There should be one in the East. There should be one in the Southwest. There should be one in the South-South. And I think this is what we actually call democratic transformation of Nigeria. So I command it. It had to take a civilian to come and do it, even though we had a military head of state that was there for 8 years. Okay. So this is a radical intervention in the history of Nigeria. And I'm actually, I don't know who brought this idea. Maybe it's the president, maybe it's the NS, whatever. It's a very brilliant contribution to the Nigerian Renaissance. So I say kudos to this government.
Yeah. Doctor, in retooling, after you drop the ball, you are retooling. In retooling, a country head must be ready to take risks.
This is not even about risk now. It is about what is necessary.
Okay.
You recall so many times we've said it here, that even the military, in tackling the internal crisis we are facing, they are complaining about movements, especially by road.
Okay.
Most successful operations, don't take place in the air. They take place on ground. Where you need the Air Force or any of the flying departments or units of the military or the police is where you want to soften the ground. To really do the clearance operation, you need the people on ground. That is why when they complain about distance, terrain, some of us, we understand it. Because you have, for instance, the 2 division. It has other subdivisions. But that is where power resides in Ibadan.
Okay.
So, and then it is now looking at Ogun. It is looking at Lagos. It is, like that. But now, we are trying to make it have more teeth. I don't know how this came about, like you said. But number one, the president must be saluted. Number 2, the chief of army staff. And then others who are working with the NSA, National Security Advisor. Because
Lagos, there's a division in Lagos, I hope you know. Second.
No.
Which includes Ogun.
We are going to have a better structure now, generally. Because what we've had before were 8. With some brigades around, not divisions.
Yeah.
So, in doing this, for instance, when you look at the one that is going to be in Jalingo, by the way, that's why they kept creating forward operation bases. Small units somewhere as part of the division. But you can't compare a division to a forward operation base or a brigade being somewhere.
Yeah.
Those are technicalities of the military that they use. But the division has stronger command. It oversees a large area. Even with 12, when you look at the size and population of Nigeria, you know we are not there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
We are not even close to home, but this is a step in the right direction.
At least we have left home.
Yes, we have left home now.
Yeah.
We have left home. He mentioned something, which again was done recently. We are creating depot for training. Before, we used to have only Zaria. Now you have one in Osogbo. A new one is in Ebonyi.
Yeah.
The three.
There used to be one in Abeokuta. I don't know if
Only the war era.
It's all gone. The three of them, in the last 2 months or thereabout, they've graduated 14,000 soldiers.
Okay.
Which is a record in recent time. And the target is 28,000. Meaning that another round of 14,000 will go through that process. Now, in that process, people will have more sense of belonging. The Southeast has been complaining.
And accommodation.
Yes, the Southeast we've been complaining about the Southeast. Every time recruitment is done, the army keeps shouting, come and join, come and join.
But I know that Majid is watching and listening to us. Gentlemen, a bit of history will not hurt anybody here.
No, it won't.
Do you know, as of the morning of Saturday, January 15, 1966, when we recorded our first infamous coup, Nigeria had 5 divisions of the army.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about the 12th.
Yes, 12.
So we have left home. MJ, Majid, are you there? So that was just for your information. MJ, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah, the four new divisions that are coming, Makurdi to take care of Benue, Nasarawa, Bauchi, and Gombe. Then Ilorin will take care of Kwara and Niger. That's the 9th division. The first one is the 5th division, that's Makurdi. Now, 10th division to be based in Jalingo will take care of Taraba and Adamawa states, while 83rd division, Benin, will take care of Edo Delta. And, in this well thought out breakdown, the president and commander-in-chiefs also approved the recruitment of 28,000, which Dotun has alluded to that, we've had 14,000 out of the 28, so remaining a balance of 14,000. And now whatever Dotun tells you there, please, let's take it serious, because he grew up in the barracks. So he's one of them. He knows what he's talking about. Okay. He knows all about the technicalities. So
even though he may not have been involved.
I also covered the defense for a very long time.
So it's a very good development. It brings security closer home. The time, the rate of intervention, will be quicker now when we have, basically it means over the 36 states now, instead of 8 units serving the 36 states, now we have 12 units serving the 36 states. That's an average of 3 states under one division. Average, quote and unquote, because we have some divisions still having 4 states, while some are having just 2. Yeah. But it's a very good development, and I'm happy that the president, while approving this, also spoke about welfare, improved welfare for the officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces, as well as improved better equipment for them, and the acquisition of more equipment. It's going to be a huge investment in our military and operations, so at least to enable them to combat the terrorists. And I must say we commend the efforts of the military, especially in the successes recorded recently that forced the Orire kidnappers to release their abductors and also, I mean,
Abductees.
That was the abductees. I mean, that was the fastest judgment we've had in history. Of course, they pleaded guilty, and 3 of them have gone for life now. And I think while wrapping all this together in a bundle, we should speed up. We beg our judiciary to speed up the rate at which they try these kidnappers and terrorists. They should make it as fast as what we had with the real this, so that, I mean, justice is quickly dispensed. I mean, it's a whole bundle of activity that will show that, yes, Nigerians still have confidence in the military, they have confidence in the government, they have confidence in the ability of our military to do justice and neutralize those criminal elements. So it's a good development. 12 new divisions, 28 more men.
28,000.
Sorry, 28,000 officers and men coming into the fold.
Yeah.
Good development.
Dr. Wale, he attempted to fly a kite.
Yeah.
Even if in passing he talked about Southeast complaining. But let me go. As a student of history, I can tell you that some people may not want to, understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a position of facts. And you know, in this business, facts are sacred. There were 5 divisions, let me go back there, of the Nigerian Army on January 15, 1966. 4 of those divisions were commanded by people from this eastern region. What we call Abalti Barracks today is the base ordnance, and the officer who was in charge was the late Philip Effiong, who was second in command to the late Odumegwu Ojukwu. Ojukwu himself was the commander of the 5th Battalion in Kano. We had a Colonel Imo. Also, you know, these are things you cannot control.
Yes, but
and the only extra one was Major then Robert Adeyinka Adebayo, if you remember. The North couldn't. The North is the one that should be crying foul, if you understand me.
No, it's not. It's not crying foul. It's the fact that people from the Southeast are found not to enlist.
And the officer corps of the Nigerian Army, Wale and Dotun and MJ, were predominated by the officers from the eastern region, meritoriously, on merit.
On merit. No doubt about that. What has been found out now is people from the Southeast are no longer joining the military, especially the army, as it should be. That's why I said that.
May I drop this? If you already know it, forget the repetition. The late father of Nnamdi Kanu was a major in the Nigerian army. Okay.
So that's why I said that the establishment of that depot in Ebonyi is a strategic one.
Yeah.
So it means, come home. You don't need to go to
Enugu,
to Zaria. No, it's even Zaria to go and to get into the army.
That's a dissuading factor. You have to travel so
go
many
into when the one in Oshogbo was started. Go to Oshogbo. You know, so it means now we have one for you in the Southeast. Come out.
Yeah.
Come and join. We've seen that this government in particular is no longer discriminating in terms of giving top positions to those who are from the Southeast.
At least we can say, let me rub this, you know as well as I do, MJ knows. The chief of air staff, Aneke, is an Igbo son, proud Igbo son.
So we are getting somewhere. So we are good to go. And the good news also is that this government, from the records, has spent about 1.15 trillion to get equipment for the military. This was not happening under the military itself when it was in power. You know, I said it was the military working against the military at that time. They don't want coup d'etat. So they stopped equipping. They stopped recruitment.
If you remember,
now this is all happening.
Sorry, you are provoking me. It was the government of late President Buhari, his first coming, Major General, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he seized APCs, but for the police.
Yeah,
If you
even the police
understand.
suffered
Yeah,
at that
police
time.
suffered.
Seriously, you know, anyway, we were in the barracks at that time. The police suffered even at
You're
that
the
time.
barracks boy now.
But the military affected the most, because at some point, as someone who covered the defense, I knew that even our pilots were going to different training centers in the US to go and train them on how to use even some of the equipment that they produced.
They destroyed the Air Force.
They destroyed the Air Force.
Navy just for personal
I
interest.
can't remember his first name now, but I remember Air Vice Marshal Okonlawon. There is no time you come. He says, I'm in Pentagon. I'm in this. What are they doing there? Training even their own officers to use the equipment that they... Because in Liberia and Sierra Leone, those issues would not have been resolved but for the intervention of Nigeria and its armed forces. Where were they when our foot soldiers marched and got Charles Taylor? In his bunker.
Oh, yeah.
Led by S.V. Omalu, the late general, who was at some point. Yes. So when you look at it all together, you will see that this can be the good time for the military, especially the Nigerian army. And kudos to the man who is heading it now. He appears, from my interaction with him, to be somebody who doesn't want to hold on to power. Decentralize it. Let people feel your presence. So that when you need to move, a division is nearby. It has the brigade. It has the battalions under it. And you keep decentralizing the power that way. And with more recruitment, I think what they need to do now, before they complete the recruitment of the remaining 14,000, they should go to the president and demand for more, so that the shortage of personnel can be covered gradually.
Let me involve our man. MJ, are you there? Lord Acton, the later British socialist, said power corrupts, but a cynic has gone a step further by saying
absolute power.
No. The fear of losing power corrupts absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we had a president in this country who decimated that was Babangida. Who decimated the military. Since then, it's been bad news for the military. They were so decimated that
you are using the word decimate not in a strict sense, but in a loose sense. Go on.
Yes, they reduced funding to them, and while he was there, a lot of things happened. The equipment acquisition and stuff like that, until I think Buhari came, that they started witnessing an increment in funding and the equipping of the military. Why he did that, I wouldn't know. But then, like we all agreed, we had Obasanjo there as military head of state, who couldn't muster the courage to do what Tinubu is doing now. As a civilian. And this should be a morale booster for our officers and men, because with the addition of the 20,000 and also the creation of 4 more divisions, like I said earlier, would make interventions quicker, deployment of troops faster, and also what probably a platoon of soldiers were doing before. Probably 2 platoons could come, because like the Boko Haram elements from history, what they do is, they can number up to about 400 or 500 on motorbikes when they are going to attack. So I don't think we'll see such things. And like we all agreed to, battles are won faster and better with boots on the ground. And that's why it's difficult. What is happening in Iran today, to be difficult for America to have an outright win, because it has become very strategic, where the way the Iranians hold on to the Strait of Hormuz, while punishing all of us economically, strategically. And it's difficult for the Americans to put boots on ground. So over there. So it's a very strategic move by the Tinubu administration to ensure that we have more boots on the ground. And the government has also indicated that there will be more funding and better welfare, which will be a morale booster for the men and officers. They are doing a great job defending our fatherland, and we give them kudos. But I think maybe we still need more divisions. But then it's not easy to train to train these officers. So it involves a lot of money, and the National Assembly should make these funds available, because no amount will be too small for us to spend, so that we have our properties and lives and properties very safe and secured by our officers and men. Yeah.
Thank you. Folks, we must move on.
Let me also now plead with you.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. And that we should pay attention to local production of equipment. That is very key. They are taking care of. They are taking.
The DIC in
It's still there, and it has become functional now. We have something also in Makurdi. We have like that. We should make them all functional, so that we depend less on people. And that's why you recollect when we spoke about Hajaokuta. I said if we get that place right, a lot of our issues, including for the military, will be resolved. So we should pay attention to that.
So we have dropped that. I hope it's useful to you, the information we are sharing here. Now,
all right, viewers, I thank you for coming along with me. Please, if you have not subscribed to YangaLife channel, click on the subscription button, notification bell, like our videos, and don't forget to share it. Well, till I come your way next time, I'm Stay Chinedu.